Okay, so in problem 21.7, the first thing I ask you to solve is to solve for the initial lease receivable. So if you're accounting for the lessor, let's say your primary concern would be the balance of your lease receivable. And aside from that one, you will also focus on your income accounts. As we discussed last time, depending on the kind of lease, you will be recognizing different kinds of income. If it's a finance lease, then you will have to determine whether it's a finance lease or a if it's a finance lease, you will determine whether it's sales type or direct financing. Because the income that will be recognized will be different. If it's direct financing, it will only be solely interest revenue. If it's sales type, you will have both a profit or a gross profit and interest. Okay. So in this problem class, the object of the agreement is an X-ray machine with an estimated life of 12 years. And then the lease is for a period of 10 years. You're given here with the normal selling price of the machine, which is your 495,678. As I've told you last time, this would normally represent your revenue or your sales revenue class. Because again, that's the main distinction between sales type and direct financing. Okay, you will split your total profit between your dealer's profit or your manufacturer's profit and interest revenue. Whereas if this was a direct financing, everything, all your markup, all the excess of your collection and the present value of your minimum lease payments will be recognized as interest income or interest revenue. And here you also have a guaranteed residual value at the end of the non-cancelable lease term, estimated to be 15,000. The hospital will pay rents of 60,000 at the beginning of each year. Amirante, the lessor, incurred 300,000 in manufacturing costs and 14,000 in legal fees directly related to the signing of the lease. What would be the relevance of the 300,000 here? This will serve as the cost of the asset that is sold under the sales type lease, since this is a sales type lease. But first and foremost, class, you should be checking whether or not this is a finance lease or not. Okay, but luckily for you, your textbook already labeled this as a sales type lease. But that will not be the case in the examination. You should be careful. Okay? Unknowingly, the problem might just be an operating lease and not a finance lease. And again, what are the criteria for classifying a lease as a finance lease? Number 1, transfer of ownership. Number 2, bargain purchase option. Number 3, major term. The lease term is for a major part of the remaining economic useful life of the asset. Number 4, exceeds substantially the present value of your minimum lease payments, exceeds substantially all of the fair value of the leased asset. And 5th, specialized use. The leased asset is of a specialized nature that it practically has no alternative future use on the part of the lessor. Okay? Here, we are not given with any information as to the specialized nature. Definitely, an X-ray machine is not specialized in nature, class. There's also no mention of, is there a mention of a transfer of ownership? No. Is there a bargain purchase option? No. But we will have to check. For the major part, what is the lease term, class? Lease term is 10 and the useful life is 12. Okay, so percentage-wise, the lease term is what in relation to the remaining life of the asset class? 10 divided by 12, how much is that? 83 non-terminating. 83.33%. How much is 10 divided by 12? 83.33. So, with that information, can we consider this as a finance lease? Yes or no? I was expecting you to say yes. So that if you said yes, I would ask you Why do we consider this to be a major part? It's less than 90%. And then I wanted you to say that we do not need 90% for the major part, because if it's for the life of the asset to be considered a major part, we do not need the 90%. We only need the 75%. So since the lease term is 83% of the useful life, then this passes the test on the major part of the life of the asset. What then is the relevance of the 90? The 90% is the threshold to consider the present value of the minimum lease payments as having exceeded substantially all of the fair value of the asset. But do we even have to check the 90%? No, because as discussed before, so long as one of the criteria is present, then the lease will be considered as a finance lease. But for the sake of practice, let's check, class, if this lease will qualify under the present value requirement, class. What are we supposed to compare? The present value of the minimum lease payments and the fair value of the asset. Do we already have the fair value of the asset, class? Yes, which is the normal selling price amounting to 495,678. Next, what do we compare the 495,678 with? The present value of your minimum lease payments. And what is crucial here, for you to correctly determine the composition of your minimum lease payments. And what are the possible components of your minimum lease payments, class? Number one would be your periodic payments. Number two would be your bargain purchase option. Number three would be your guaranteed residual value. The fourth one introduced by your textbook is the penalty from the failure to renew. Out of those four which are present, did I say two? Out of those four which are present, only the periodic payments and the guaranteed residual value. How much is our periodic payments, class? 60,000. And how many times are we be paying 60,000? We'll be paying this for 10 years. So we will have 10 60,000 cash flows. But our cash flow is what? At the end of the year or at the start of the year? Start. So what factor are we going to be using? We'll be using annuity due. And hopefully you know how to solve for the annuity due factor. Okay, rounding it off to 5 decimal places, your annuity due factor. By the way, what rate are we going to be using here? Again, it should be the implicit interest rate, which is already given in the problem. Okay, so the PV annuity due factor for 5% for 10 periods would be 8.10782. Multiply that with 60,000. The present value of your 10 60,000s would be 486,469. But will that already be the present value of your MLP? No, you have another item comprising your MLP, and that is the guaranteed residual value. And how much is the guaranteed residual value here? 15,000. But when does this cash flow happen? Or how many times will this cash flow happen? Only once, which is at the end. And when will this happen? At the end. So what factor will you need? You will be using the lump sum present value factor. And the lump sum PV factor for 5% for 10 years is rounded off to 5 decimal places would be 0.61391. Multiply that with 15,000, you would get 9,209. You add that with the 486,469, the total present value of your lease payments would be 495,678. And to what do you compare that, class? You compare it to the fair value of the asset, which is also 495,678. So can we say that the present value of the lease payments approximate is at least 90% of your fair value of the asset, class? Yes, it's actually even equivalent to 100%. Okay, so based on those two criteria, class, this lease will qualify as a finance lease. Okay, but going back to the question, what was the first question? How much is the initial lease receivable? And how do we compute for the initial lease receivable, class? Again, your initial lease receivable will just be your present value of your lease payments, class. And how much is the present value of your lease payments? It is 495,678. And how about your sales revenue? Your sales revenue will just be the fair value of the leased asset. So what would be, if you're asked for the sales revenue, what would be your answer? It will also be 495,670. Okay, so the answer to the first two questions, initial lease receivable and sales revenue, would be the same in this problem. Okay. Next question is compute for the, let's start with computing for the interest revenue for year 1 class. Okay. Of course, you will have interest revenue here because your lease receivable was outstanding for 1 whole year during the year 1. Why? When was the contract entered into? It was entered into at the start of the year. So the entire receivable was outstanding for the whole year, and it will be earning interest. Okay, but first things first, how much interest will it be earning every year percentage-wise? It would be the implicit interest rate of 5%. And again, how much is the initial balance of the lease receivable class? It's 495,678. So to answer the interest income or interest revenue for year 1, do we multiply 495,678 with the interest rate of 5%? Why not? Because on the very first day of the first year, there was already payment. So what does that mean? The initial lease receivable was not outstanding for the whole year because it was already paid on the very first day of the first year of the lease. So how much then was outstanding during the whole year? How much then was earning interest during the year? It should be the 495,678 less the amount of payment. How much was the amount of payment done in the first day of the first year? 60,000. So the question now is, do we deduct the entire 60,000 from the 495,678? Yes, because we will not split the 60,000 between the interest component and the principal component because no interest has accrued yet on the first day. Again, how do we earn interest? We earn interest through passage of time. So since no time has passed yet from the commencement to the payment, then everything will be applied to the principal. So the entire 60,000 will be paid or deducted to 495,678. That is why after the payment of 60,000 class, the outstanding balance, immediately after the payment, the outstanding balance of the lease receivable is not 495,678. It would be 435,678. And this is the amount that is outstanding for 1 whole year. And this is the amount that will earn interest for 1 whole year. Okay, so how much is 5? What do you do? Multiply 5% with 435,678. 435,678. How much is 5% of 435,678? Rounded off to the nearest ones place, class. How much? 21,784. Now, when will you receive the payment for this 21,784 class? You will receive it on the beginning of the second year. Okay, as part of the payment that you will receive on January 1 of the second year. But when do we recognize this revenue class? This revenue will already be recognized on year 1. Even if it will be paid on January 1 of year 2, it will already be recorded and recognized in year 1 following accrual class. Okay, so that is why the answer to the question for year 1 interest income class, the answer is already 21,784, even though it is not yet received. Okay, so to answer the question, how much is the interest revenue for the first year? It is already 21,784. So when you prepare your adjusting entries class at the end of the year, what will you do? Di ba, as part of your adjusting entries class, you will record accruals class. So you will record your accrued interest income. Okay? But instead of recognizing a interest receivable, you will now debit this to your lease receivable class. So what then is the effect? Because of the interest earned, your lease receivable will increase. How much was it again on January 1 after the payment class? January 1, year 1, after the payment, it was 435,678. But because of the interest that was earned, which would be included in the net carrying amount of your lease receivable, your year 1 ending balance for lease receivable class would be 435,678 plus the interest income. So again, how much was the balance on January 1 after the payment? 435,678. By the end of the year, when you recorded the accrued interest class, your lease receivable will be increased in an amount equivalent to your interest revenue. And how much was the interest revenue? Again, it was 21,784. So the balance of your lease receivable at the end of the first year would be again 435,678 plus 21,784. How much is that class? 435,678 plus 21,784. 457, 462. And that will be the answer to the question for year 1 ending balance for lease receivable. 457,462. Okay. Next, number 5, year 2 ending balance. Let's start with year 2 interest revenue. Will we have interest income or interest revenue in year 2? Yes. What is the source of the interest revenue? The interest on the outstanding balance of the lease receivable. Question is, what is the balance of the lease receivable class? What is the balance of the receivable that was outstanding during the whole year? Class, how much was it? Year 1 ending balance, class? Year 1 ending balance, 457,462. What happened on the very next day? December 31, year 1, 457,462. What happened the very next day? You received a payment. How much payment did you receive? 60,000. And then you will deduct the entire 60,000 already because you have already incorporated the interest income the previous year. Okay? So you can just deduct the entire 60. Okay? So instead of recognizing interest receivable, you just incorporate it into your lease receivable so that by the time you will receive the payment, you will just deduct the entire 60,000. Okay? So how much is 457,462 minus 60,000? Is it 397,462? So that is the amount that will be outstanding for the entirety of year 2. So what does that mean? That is the amount that will earn interest for year 2. What's the possible error on your part here? You correctly computed for 457,462. You correctly computed for 457,462 last year. But you forgot to deduct the payment class. All you did was still multiply 457,462 with 5%. That would be wrong. Because again, the 457,462 is the balance at the end of year 1. Okay, normally, the ending balance on year 1 would be the beginning balance on year 2. And that is what will happen. And that is what happened here. But after the first day of year 2 class, something else happened and there was the payment. So the amount that will be outstanding for the entirety of year 2 will not be 457,462. It would just be the 397,462. And this is the amount that will earn interest for second year. So to solve for interest income on year 2 class, what will you do? Multiply the interest rate of 5% with 397,462. How much is 5% of 397,462 class? How much? 19,873. Okay, so that would be the interest revenue for year 2. Okay? You have questions? No. Because when you accrue at the end of the year, you will be crediting interest revenue. Credit interest revenue, and the debit would be your lease liability. Okay? So it's different, class. What's your confusion, man? From how much was your initial lease receivable? And then to get the ending balance? No. Class, what will decrease any receivable, class? What will decrease any receivable? Only collection, class. Okay? And it's wrong. You earned interest, you earned an income, but you would be decreasing your asset. What is the definition of an income, class? An income is an increase in asset or a decrease in liability, not arising from any other increase or change in your other assets and liabilities. Definitely that analysis is not correct. Okay, you earned an income and you will end up decreasing your receivable. What will decrease your receivable should only be your collection, class. So the correct effect of a recognition of an income would be a recognition of another asset or an increase of your, in this case, an increase of your lease receivable. What are you confused there with, man? What are you referring to in your textbook? Let me see. But I hope you get my point. Your income should not decrease your assets, class.
Sa first, okay, money i-record mo yung CCV. And then,
yeah, this is the entry. Debit, lease receivable, and credit, interest revenue. So that will increase the balance at the end of the... This is the amortization class. Your classmate is referring to the amortization schedule. That's the splitting of the payment between the principal payment and the interest. That is not the amount that will go to your accounts. Okay, that is the amortization schedule and not the amount that will go to your accounts. Okay? So, of course, class, what do you do when you amortize, class? You will split the payment between interest and principal. But, class, take note, the amount that is deducted, can I see that one? What page is that? 1117. Is that the amortization schedule? 111. Okay, so go to your textbook, class, 1117. There you are given with the CNH Capital lease amortization schedule. You have the initial balance of 1 million, and I believe this is annuity due also because on January 1, 2022, you have payment of 2711, and the entire amount is treated as a reduction to your lease receivable. It is the 2711.11 that is deducted from the 100,000. No issue there. For the second year, for the start of the second year, the balance of your lease receivable is 61,749.34. How did you arrive from 79,288.89 to 61,749.34? Did you deduct the interest of 3,171.56? No. What was deducted from 79,288.89? It was the principal component of your second 20,000 payment. Okay, in the amount of 17,539.55. Do you see the 17,539.55? That is the amount deducted from 79,288.89 to arrive at your 61,749. Because again, what will decrease your receivable? It should only be the collection. Okay, this is your collection applicable to the principal. That is the amount that should be charged to your receivable. But in our explanation earlier, why do we just deduct the entirety of the payment? Because we have added the interest component already. So that the net effect is to just deduct the entirety of the payment. Again, it's wrong to reduce your receivable with the amount of interest income that you will earn. Very wrong, class. An income should not cause a decrease to your asset class. Go back to the definition of your asset. You have definition of your income. You have an income if there's an increase in your asset or a decrease in your liability without any corresponding change to your other assets and liabilities. Okay? I hope I clarified your confusion. Okay? But again, going back, how much were the amounts there? It's 79,000 and 61,000. If you were asked, how much will be the balance? The 79,000 is January 1, 2022. And then the 61,000 is January 1, 2023. If you were asked, how much is the balance on December 31, 2022? It should neither be 79 nor 61. What do? From the 79, you add the interest income that was earned in the first year. But you'll get confused because when you look at the amortization schedule, it is placed on the third line already. Because the focus for amortization schedule class is the payments class. When do the payments happen? They happen at the start of each year. Okay, but if we are on our accounting records, the income will already be recorded on the first year. Okay, so I hope I have clarified that class and we can already move forward. Okay, again, for your accrual class, what will be your entry to accrue the interest income? Debit, and it's actually in your textbook also. Debit, the lease receivable and credit, interest revenue. Plus, what's the effect of a debit to an asset class? What's the effect of a debit to an asset? It will increase the asset class. Very quickly lang, can we go over that illustration? Still on page 1117 class. What was the entry on January 1, 2022? Just above the table class. Debit, lease receivable, 100. Cost of goods sold, 85. Sales revenue of 100. Inventory of 85,000. So on January 1, 2022, the initial balance of your lease receivable is 100,000. But what else happened? Is there an entry for the payment? There. On the next page, class, still on January 1, 2022, you have another entry, debit, cash, and credit, lease receivable in the amount of 2711.11. Okay? And what will be the effect of that entry? It will decrease your lease receivable in the amount of 2711. This is the payment class. So you deduct the 2711.111 from 100,000. The balance there would be the 79,288.89. Okay? But what else happened still in 2022? You prepared another entry to record the interest revenue. Okay? And the entry there for December 31, 2022 is debit, lease receivable and credit, interest revenue in the amount of 3171.56. What is the effect of this entry to your lease receivable? It will increase your lease receivable class. So that when you proceed further class, still on page 1118, what is the entry there class? The entry simplified na lang. It will just be to record the payment. And what is the entry to record the payment? Debit, cash, and credit, lease receivable in the amount of 2711.11. After this entry class, after the January 1, 2023, if you were asked, how much is the balance of your lease receivable on January 1, 2023? Your answer would be the 61,749.34. Again, if the question was January 1, 2023, your answer would, the January 1, 2023 balance of your lease receivable, I apologize if I mistakenly say lease liability class. If you're asked how much is the January 1, 2023 balance of your lease receivable, it is 61,749.34. Why? What happened? You received payment, and the payment will be deducted from your lease receivable and the interest income, which we have already incorporated in our lease receivable. So again, this is the question. January 1, 2022 lease receivable. Answer would be 79,288.89. Next question. January 1, 2023 lease receivable. Answer would be 61,749.34. But if the question is how much is the December 31, 2022 lease receivable, your answer would be the 61,749.34 plus 3171 plus. Sorry. It's the 79,288 plus 3171 or the 61,749.34 plus the 2711. Okay? Let's proceed to problem 21.9. Very quickly na lang, I'll give you the answers and brief explanation. So I hope you understand why you cannot rely on the amortization schedule, because the amortization schedule is for January 1. And what was being asked is for December 31. Okay? The schedule of your amortization class would depend on the schedule of the payments class. Okay? $21.9. And the first question I've given you is initial lease receivable. Because if you check, this would still qualify as a finance lease. Very quickly lang. What's the lease term? 10 years, and the useful life is also 12 years. The same as problem 21.7. And we know that 10 divided by 12 is 83%, which is more than 75%. Now, let's solve. How do we solve for our lease receivable class? Still get the present value of the lease payments class. Okay, and then what is our lease payments here? We have the periodic payment. How much is the periodic payment class? The normal selling price is 299,140. What is the 299,140 here, class? This would be your fair value, correct? And its unguaranteed residual value at the end of the lease term is estimated to be 20. The annual payment is 40,000 at the beginning of each year. And then Kobayashi, the 180,000 here will serve as what? The cost of goods sold. And then the 4,000 would be expenses. The interest rate is 8%. That's very quickly lang. If it's lessor class, you will have to include the residual value class, even though it is not guaranteed. For lessee, it should be guaranteed. For lessor, it should be both. It should either be guaranteed or unguaranteed. Why? Because even if it's not guaranteed class, you will still end up getting back the asset. So your receivable here will be paid off not by cash necessarily, but through the return of the asset with its corresponding value. So your lease payments here would comprise the periodic payment and the residual value. Okay? So your periodic payment here is 40,000. What rate are we going to use, class? 8%. What factor are we going to be using? Still annuity due, correct? And for 10 years. So 10 years, 8%. Your PV factor would be how much? 7.24689. So you multiply 7.24689 by 40,000. The present value of your periodic payments would be 289,876. Add the present value of the residual value. It's again very important, lessor, whether guaranteed or not, because there will still be a collection on the part of the lessor. present value of the residual value class, 9264 computed by multiplying 20,000 by 4, 0.46319. Okay, and that will give you 299,140, which is also equal to your fair value given in the problem. Do you see that, class? So the answer to the first question, initial lease receivable, the answer is 299,140. However, class, for your sales revenue will not include the unguaranteed residual value, class. Okay, because your sales should only represent the amount that you will be paid. Okay, so you just deduct from the 299,140 the present value of the unguaranteed residual value, which is your 289,876. Okay, next question is how much will be your cost of goods sold? Your cost of goods sold will not just be the 180, class, because the cost to you is 180, but you will not be losing the entire 180 because later on you would be getting back the asset. But the amount that you will be deducting should not be the 20, but only the present value of the 20. So how do you solve for your cost of goods sold, class? 180 minus the present value of your residual value. How much is the present value of the residual value? 9264. 180,000 minus 9264 will give you 170,736. And that would be your cost of goods sold in this problem. Okay, first, interest revenue, class. Interest revenue, year 1. What do you do? Outstanding balance. How much was the initial balance of your lease receivable? 299,140. But what else happened on? Is this also at the start of the year? How much? What else happened? You also received payment. How much payment did you receive? 40,000. And the entire payment is applicable to the principal, correct? Okay, no interest has accrued yet. What do you do? 299. How much is it? 299,140 minus 40,000. That would be the balance that will earn interest for the whole year. How much is 299 minus 140? 259,140 multiplied by what? 8%. How much is 259,140 times 8%? 20,731. That would be your interest revenue for year 1. Now, class, I hope you understand the concept now. What if you're asked, how much is the year 1 ending balance for your lease receivable? How much was it from the very start, class? 299,140. But what else happened? Payment, 259,140. Okay? But because of the accrued interest, class, your lease receivable will increase so that our entry on January 1, year 2 would be simpler, class. We will incorporate the interest income to our lease receivable. So what would be the balance on year 1? It would be 259,140 plus 2731. Okay? It will be incorporated already in your lease receivable. Anyways, it will just be deducted once we receive the payment the following day. So the answer now would be, again, 259,140 plus 2731. Your answer would be 279,871. So again, December 31, year 1, our answer would be 279,871. But January 1, year 2, what would be the balance of the lease receivable on January 1, year 2? You deduct that entire payment. 279,871 deducted by 40. How much is 279,871 minus 40,000 class? 239,871. Why are we not splitting the payment between the interest and the principal? Because we have already incorporated the interest component to the lease receivable. So the balance on January 1, year 2 would be 239,871. Why is that important? That is the amount that will be outstanding for the entirety of year 2. That is the amount that will earn interest on year 2. So how much is, how much was it? 239,871 times 8%. 19,190. So that would be your interest revenue for year 2. Okay. Then what do you think would be the balance on December 31, year 2, class? December 31, year 2. It would be 259,061. I hope you've taken down the answers.